Have you ever noticed how just one moment, one careless comment, one rude remark, can hijack your entire day? Someone cuts you off in traffic. A coworker throws a sarcastic jab. Or a stranger talks down to you, and suddenly, it's like a switch flips inside your chest. Your heart races, your jaw tightens, and before you know it, words fly out that you'll regret later. Why does that happen? Why is it that emotions, especially anger, seem to take control before our rational mind even has a chance to step in? And maybe a more important question, how do we take that control back? The Stoics believed the real battlefield isn't out there in the world. It's not your boss, your partner, or that stranger who cut in line. The true battlefield is right here, your own mind. That's where victory or defeat is decided, long before a single word leaves your mouth. And here's the powerful truth they taught. Real strength doesn't come from shouting louder, pushing harder, or dominating someone else. Real strength comes from staying calm when the world tries to shake you. It comes from refusing to hand over your peace of mind to someone who hasn't earned the right to disturb it. Think about it. When was the last time losing your temper actually made things better? Did yelling at the driver who cut you off make traffic disappear? Did snapping back at your boss earn you more respect, or did it just make you look smaller? We've all been there. We've all replayed those moments in our heads, wishing we had paused, wishing we had responded differently. And that's exactly what this message is about. Not suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't feel hurt or disrespected, but rewiring the way you respond when life tests you. Because make no mistake, it will test you. Every insult, every disruption, every unexpected change of plans is an invitation. Will you hand over your power? Or will you rise above it? The Stoics were warriors of the mind. They believed that the highest form of dominance isn't over other people, it's over yourself. To stand firm when everything around you is chaos. To remain untouchable when the world tries to pull you into its storms. In this video, we're going to walk through proven, practical Stoic techniques that you can use every single day to master this battlefield inside your mind. I'll show you how to pause before reacting, how to detach from what doesn't serve you, and how to build an inner strength so solid that no insult, no setback, no petty drama can shake it. And let me be clear, struggling with anger doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. Every single one of us has felt the burn of disrespect in the heat of anger. But very few ever learn how to rise above it. That's where you can change. That's where you can separate yourself from the crowd, not by reacting faster or louder, but by mastering the art of not reacting at all. Because once you understand Stoicism, you don't just manage anger, you become immune to it. You don't just keep your peace, you make yourself untouchable. And that, my friend, changes everything. So if you're tired of being hijacked by every rude comment, every petty slight, every disrespectful look, stick with me. By the end of this, you'll see that calm isn't weakness, it's power. And the man, or woman, who owns their emotions owns their life. Part 1. Anger is a habit, not your nature. Here's a truth that might surprise you. You weren't born angry. Nobody came into this world slamming doors, shouting in traffic, or replaying arguments in their head for hours. That reaction, the way anger flares up and takes over, was learned. It was picked up through years of stress, pride, frustration, and a culture that tells us we need to be tough, loud, and dominant to be strong. But here's the paradox. Real strength isn't loud at all. Real strength is quiet. It's steady. The most powerful person in the room isn't the one who explodes when provoked. It's the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't bark back, and doesn't hand over their peace to something small. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times has anger actually helped you? Someone cuts you off on the freeway. Did getting angry make traffic move faster? Your boss talks down to you. Did snapping back win you more respect? Or did it just make the situation worse? Deep down, you know the answer. And yet, we keep repeating the same cycle. A trigger sparks the reaction before our rational mind even catches up. That's why anger feels automatic, because it's become a habit. Like biting your nails or checking your phone 100 times a day. It's a loop your brain has rehearsed so often it runs without thought. The Stoics had a radical perspective on this. They didn't see anger as a personality trait. I'm just an angry guy. That's who I am. No, They saw it as a weakness in disguise. Epictetus, a man who was once a slave and later became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, said it clearly. Any person capable of anger is a slave to it. That's harsh, isn't it? But think about what he means. When you react blindly, you hand your power over to whatever provoked you. You let the outside world push buttons that control your inner state. That's not strength, that's slavery. You're no longer in charge of yourself. You're predictable, easy to manipulate, and constantly drained. Let me give you a story. Imagine you're standing in line at the DMV. You've already been waiting an hour, maybe longer. Suddenly, someone walks right in front of you as if you're invisible. Instantly, your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, and the thought rushes in. Who do they think they are? That right there, that flash of heat, that's your battlefield. You've fought this war before. Sometimes you exploded, sometimes you muttered under your breath, sometimes you stewed in silence all day. But tell me, did it ever make things better? Or did it only leave you more stressed, more resentful, more exhausted? This is where Stoicism flips the script. You don't need to suppress your feelings. You don't need to pretend you're not frustrated. What you need to do is see the anger for what it really is. A habit you no longer have to carry. You can step outside it, watch it rise, and choose not to feed it. Imagine treating anger like a fire. If you throw wood on it, your words, your reactions, your energy, it blazes higher. But if you refuse to feed it, it starves and dies out. That's what the Stoics practiced. Not denying their emotions, but refusing to give them fuel. Now here's the part most people never hear. Changing this doesn't happen overnight. Because anger is a habit. And like any habit, it takes time to unlearn. The same way you trained your brain to lash out, you can retrain it to stay steady. And that begins with awareness. With catching yourself in the very moment the fire rises. So next time you feel anger building, pause and ask yourself one question. Will this reaction make things better? 99% of the time, you already know the answer. You've lived the answer. It never makes things better. That's the moment to break the cycle. To refuse to hand over your peace to someone who doesn't deserve it. To stop letting small things steal big chunks of your life. Because here's the reality. Anger doesn't show you're strong, it shows you're still chained. And the day you decide to stop feeding it is the day you finally take your power back. This isn't about being passive. It's about being precise. It's about mastering yourself so deeply that no insult, no slight, no disrespect can push you into a reaction you'll regret. That's not weakness. That's real dominance, the kind that doesn't need to prove itself. So let me ask you, are you tired of being predictable? Are you tired of letting strangers, coworkers, or even family members dictate your mood with a single word? If you are, then this is your invitation. See anger for what it is, not your identity, but a habit you can unlearn. And when you do, something incredible happens. You become untouchable. You stop being a slave to outside triggers. And you start living with a calm so rare in this world that people can't help but notice. They'll look at you and wonder, how does he stay so steady when everyone else is losing it? That's the power of Stoicism. That's the strength of mastering yourself. And it all starts with recognizing the simple truth. You were not born angry. You learned it, and if you learned it, you can unlearn it. Part 2. Control yourself instead of others. Let me ask you something. How many times in your life have you tried to win by raising your voice? Throwing an insult, or storming out of a room? In the heat of the moment, it feels powerful, doesn't it? Like you've just taken control of the situation. Like you've shown everyone you're not to be messed with. But here's the sobering truth. That kind of power is fake. It burns hot, it burns fast, and then it leaves you feeling weaker than before. Because real power, lasting power, doesn't come from dominating someone else. It comes from mastering yourself when the fire rises inside. Anger tricks you. It whispers in your ear. If you don't react, you're weak. If someone pushes you, you have to push back harder. If you stay silent, you've lost. But think about it. How many times has giving in to that voice actually solved anything? You shout, they shout louder. You win the argument but lose the relationship. You feel good for a few seconds, then spend hours regretting what you said. And at the end of the day, what's left? Nothing but exhaustion, proof that you weren't in control at all. You were just reacting. Now imagine this. You're sitting in a meeting at work. You've worked hard on an idea. You're proud of it. And then your manager criticizes it in front of everyone, unfairly. Maybe even arrogantly. Your blood pressure spikes. Every part of you wants to fire back. To defend yourself. To put them in their place. But then, something inside you says, if I respond now, I'll only make this worse. So you pause. You take a breath. And instead of snapping, you say calmly, thanks for the feedback. I'll revisit it. And then you move on. Later, in private, when the emotion has passed, you speak with clarity instead of heat. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's control. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he said, you have power over your mind. Not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He was reminding us that the only battlefield you can truly win is the one inside your own head. Because here's the mistake most of us make. We waste our energy trying to control other people, what they say, how they act, whether they respect us. But that's a losing game. You can't control them. You never could. What you can control, and always could, is how you choose to respond. Let me give you another example. Think about the last time you saw someone completely lose it, yelling, red in the face, maybe even slamming the table. Did you respect them more? Or did they actually lose power in your eyes? Rage is loud, but respect? Respect is quiet. Respect is calm under fire. When you stay composed in the face of provocation, you become untouchable. You show a strength that unnerves people far more than shouting ever could. And ironically, when you stop chasing control over others, you end up gaining something far greater, control over yourself. The Stoic path doesn't mean you never speak up. It doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It means you choose how and when you respond. On your terms, not your angers. You create space, just a breath, just a pause, and in that space, wisdom lives. You make better decisions. You keep your dignity intact. And you walk away with your self-respect untouched. So the next time someone disrespects you, remember this. You don't need to take the bait. Let them act small. You stay solid. Not because you're afraid, not because you can't fight back, but because you refuse to let someone else's chaos dictate your state of mind. That is strength. That is control. Here's the shift. Stop trying to control the room. Stop trying to control the noise. Control your breath. Control your words. Control your energy. That's where true power is found. And here's the best part. The more you practice this, the more unshakable you become. People will try to rattle you, disrespect you, provoke you, and when they see you don't flinch, when they see their chaos can't reach you, they'll realize something. You're on a level they can't touch. That's the Stoic way. Not about having the last word, but about keeping the last piece. Not about being feared, but about being respected. And not about controlling the world, but about controlling yourself and walking away with your dignity. Every single time. Part 3. Build calm like a muscle. Here's a secret most people don't realize. Calm is not a gift you're born with. It's not something that just shows up when life gets hard. Calm is something you build, just like a muscle in the gym. And if you've never trained it, you can't expect it to suddenly show up the moment chaos strikes. Think about it. You wouldn't walk into a gym, load 300 pounds onto the bar, and expect to lift it if you've never trained before. You'd get crushed. The same is true for your emotions. If you never practice calm in the small, quiet moments of life, don't be surprised when you fall apart during the storm. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're untrained. This is where the Stoics were different. They didn't wait until they were under fire to try to control themselves. They trained every day, in small, deliberate ways, so that when the storm came, they were ready. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, wrote in his journal daily, not because he was weak, but because he wanted to track what tested him and how he could respond better tomorrow. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that discipline begins not in the big, dramatic gestures, but in the quiet control of thought and emotion. So what does training calm look like today? It's not complicated. It might be waking up early to sit in silence before the world gets noisy. It might be journaling your thoughts before bed, so you don't carry them into your sleep. It might be choosing to breathe and pause instead of snapping back when someone frustrates you. These aren't small acts. These are reps, emotional weightlifting for the soul. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine you come home after a long day. Exhausted, you open your laptop to finish some work, and suddenly your child spills juice all over it. Instinct kicks in. You want to yell, slam the table, release that frustration, but then something clicks. You've been practicing. Instead of exploding, you pause, you breathe, you say, okay, let's clean it up. That moment might look small from the outside, but inside, it's massive. That's strength in action. That's a rep. And those reps, stacked day after day, make you unshakable in bigger storms. Because when you've trained calm, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training. Here's the mistake most men make. They wait until life hits them hard to prove they can stay calm. But that's not how it works. If you want composure under pressure, you prepare in advance. You build it when no one's watching. You build it in the small choices, the everyday moments, the little acts of discipline. So ask yourself, what are your daily reps? Maybe it's 5 minutes of silence before your morning coffee. Maybe it's writing down 3 things that frustrated you today and how you'll respond better tomorrow. Maybe it's simply practicing 1 deep breath before you answer a text or an email that annoys you. These moments might feel small, but over time they shape you. They create a steadiness that doesn't break when life pushes. And that's the point. Calm isn't built in the storm, it's built before the storm. The Stoics knew this. They treated peace not as something you wait for, but as something you train for. And just like with your body, the more consistent you are, the stronger you get. No one is born a Stoic. No one wakes up with perfect self-control. But the man, or woman, who commits, who repeats, who practices, becomes untouchable. So don't wait for life to test you to find out you're unprepared. Test yourself today. Train your calm daily, like you train a muscle. Because the truth is, calm is not a personality trait. It's not luck, it's discipline. And once you've built it, no chaos, no insult, no setback can take it away from you. That's the kind of calm the Stoics lived by. And that's the kind of calm you can start building, one representative at a time. Part 4. Let go of what you can't control. Have you ever noticed how most of your frustration comes from things you never had the power to control in the first place? Traffic jams, flight delays, last-minute cancellations, people changing their minds without warning. Life rarely follows your plan. And yet, every time it doesn't, we act as if the universe has personally betrayed us. Think about it. When you get stuck in traffic, what's really making you angry? It's not the cars. It's not the red lights. It's your expectation that you'd get to your destination smoothly, on time, without interruption. The moment that expectation shatters, anger rushes in. The same thing happens when plans fall apart at work, when someone cancels on you, or when life throws an obstacle in your path. The anger isn't coming from the event itself, it's coming from your resistance to it. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. They taught that suffering doesn't come from events, but from our attachment to how we wanted them to unfold. The tighter we cling to how things should be, the more we suffer when reality doesn't cooperate. And here's the truth. Reality doesn't care about your schedule. Life doesn't ask for your permission before it changes course. So what's the solution? Learn to separate what is in your control from what isn't. This is the heart of Stoicism. Because the man who needs everything to go right in order to stay calm will never know peace. But the man who learns to adapt, who chooses calm even when plans change, becomes untouchable. Let me give you a story. Imagine you walk out of a store and find someone has backed into your car. There's a dent in the bumper. And to make matters worse, the driver shrugs it off like it's nothing. In that moment, rage rises fast. You want to explode, to make them care as much as you do. But pause and ask yourself, will getting angry fix the dent? Will it make the other driver suddenly respectful? No. All it will do is rob you of your peace for the rest of the day. So you take a different path. You do the paperwork, handle it through the proper process, and drive away. Yes, your bumper is damaged, but your dignity, your energy, your peace of mind, those remain untouched. That's the win. That's the move of someone who refuses to give more than what was already taken. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you ignore problems or become passive. It means you stop wasting energy on what you cannot change. That's not denial, It's discipline. And that discipline frees up your strength for the battles you can actually fight. The mistake most people make is believing control means forcing the world to bend to their will. But that's an illusion. Real control isn't about bending reality. It's about staying steady when reality doesn't bend. It's about choosing composure in the middle of chaos. Ask yourself, how much of your life have you wasted being angry at things you couldn't control? The weather, the economy, the traffic, other people's opinions. None of those ever bowed to your anger. And yet you kept giving them your time, your energy, your health. What if instead, you reserved your strength for the things that actually are in your hands, your choices, your actions, your mindset? The Stoics lived by one simple filter. Is this within my control? If yes, act with clarity and discipline. If no, let it go. Because when you stop trying to hold what isn't yours, you free yourself from chains you didn't even realize you were carrying. So the next time something threatens to wreck your day, step back, ask yourself, is this mine to control? If the answer is no, don't give it your attention. Let it pass like bad weather. You can't stop the storm, but you can choose how you walk through it. And here's the reward. When you let go of what isn't yours to hold, you become lighter, stronger, freer. The world will keep throwing chaos your way, but you'll walk through it calm, clear, and unshaken. Because in the end, control isn't about forcing the world to obey. Control is about mastering yourself when it doesn't. That's the Stoic path. That's real power. Part 5. Turn conflict into a test of mastery. Here's the truth. You can't avoid conflict. Not if you're alive. Not if you're working, building something, or simply dealing with people. Someone will misunderstand you. Someone will talk down to you. Someone will cut in line, test your patience, or push your limits. Conflict is inevitable. But here's the shift. Conflict isn't a threat to your power, it's a test of it. Most people see conflict as an attack on their pride, a moment to prove themselves, to win, to dominate. So they tighten up, raise their voice, and try to crush the other person. But here's what they miss. Every time you explode, every time you lash out, you're proving not your strength but your lack of control. You're showing that someone else can press your buttons and make you dance to their tune. The Stoics saw it differently. They treated every confrontation not as a battlefield to conquer others, but as a gym to train themselves. Every insult, every interruption, every unfair jab, it wasn't just a problem. It was practice, an opportunity to test how much control they really had. Let me give you an example. Picture this. You're waiting at the hardware store. You've been patient, standing in line, when suddenly the guy behind you barges past, waves a receipt, and demands to be served first. His voice rises, people start staring, and you feel your blood pressure spike. Your fists clench, your jaw tightens, and you're ready to fire back. But in that exact moment, you step back inside yourself and ask, what's really at risk here, my ego? Or my peace? That pause changes everything. You realize you don't have to match his chaos with your chaos. You don't have to lower yourself to his level. Because the real danger in conflict isn't being disrespected, it's losing yourself in the process. Most people think staying calm in a conflict is surrender. That if you don't react, you've been walked over. But the opposite is true. Letting someone hijack your emotions, that's surrender. That's giving away your power. When you stay composed, when you choose clarity over rage, you show a strength far greater than shouting ever could. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He faced betrayal, war, and politics every day. Yet he wrote in his journal that every interaction was an opportunity to practice self-control. He didn't see conflict as a disruption, he saw it as training. Every argument was a chance to sharpen his patience. Every insult was a representative for his discipline. Every betrayal was an invitation to rise above his ego. Now think about your own life. What if you treated every conflict the same way? Instead of seeing it as a threat, you see it as a test. A coworker undermines you in a meeting. That's your chance to practice composure. A stranger shouts at you in traffic. That's your opportunity to practice restraint. A friend criticizes you unfairly. That's your test of patience and perspective. Every conflict, big or small, becomes a mirror showing you where you still have work to do. Did you let your ego run the show? Or did you keep your dignity intact? Did you waste energy trying to win? Or did you grow stronger by choosing control? And here's the beauty of this shift. Once you start viewing conflict as practice, you stop being afraid of it. You stop wasting energy avoiding it or dreading it. Instead, you welcome it as training. And each time, you get sharper, calmer, more unshakable. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their storm, remember, this is your rep. This is your gym. Don't give them the satisfaction of seeing you lose control. Don't waste your peace on someone else's chaos. Instead, let them expose themselves while you rise above. Because here's the truth. You're not here to react to every insult. You're here to master yourself. And every conflict is a chance to do exactly that. That's how the Stoics lived. They didn't chase revenge. They didn't waste energy proving themselves. They used every confrontation as practice. Proof that strength isn't about overpowering others, but about overpowering your own impulses. So start treating conflict differently. Not as something to fear. Not as something to win. But as a test of mastery. Because when you pass that test, when you walk away with your peace untouched, you've proven something far greater than dominance. You've proven that you've mastered the hardest battlefield of all. Yourself. Part 6. Stay present, because imagination makes you angry. Have you ever noticed how most of your anger isn't actually about what's happening right now, but about the story your mind is telling you about it? It's rarely the comment itself, it's what you think that comment meant. It's not just the driver who cut you off, it's the 30 minutes you spend replaying it in your head. Imagining what you should have said, what you would have done, how you'll never let someone disrespect you again. The Stoics had a simple observation. The present moment is never as heavy as the mind makes it. The real suffering doesn't come from reality, it comes from imagination. Think about it. Someone cuts in front of you in traffic. That's a 3-second inconvenience. But in your head, you replay it for half an hour, carrying the frustration into your next call, your next meeting, even your dinner table. The moment is gone, but your mind drags it along like a chain. That's not reality hurting you anymore, it's your imagination. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. He wasn't trying to be morbid, he was reminding himself that the only moment you truly have is right now. And right now, there is no insult, no argument, no future outcome to fear. There is only breath, action, choice. But here's where most of us get trapped. We mistake our thoughts for facts. We believe that just because we're thinking it, it must be true. They must think I'm weak. They must be trying to disrespect me. I bet they'll do it again. And suddenly, you're angry about something that doesn't even exist, something you invented in your own head. So how do you break free? You train yourself to come back to the present. Not tomorrow. Not after this fight is over. Right now, you ground yourself in the only reality that exists. It's simpler than it sounds. Pay attention to your breath. Notice the air moving in and out. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice your posture, the sounds in the room, the sensation of your hands. Every time your mind tries to spin stories, bring it back to the moment. That's presence. And in presence, there is no anger, only clarity. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're walking into a meeting with someone you don't like. Before you even sit down, your chest is tight, your mind is racing. They're going to disrespect me. They're going to challenge me. I know this is going to turn ugly. But notice, nothing has happened yet. All that tension? It's not from the present, it's from the future you've already imagined in your head. Now imagine instead you take one slow breath before you walk in. You remind yourself, I don't know what will happen. All I have is right now. You sit down, grounded, steady, present. Maybe they do say something rude. Maybe they don't, but either way, you'll handle it better from a calm mind than from a mind already at war with itself. This is why mindfulness isn't just some spiritual fluff, it's a tactical advantage. The ability to return to the present moment is what keeps you steady when your instincts want chaos. It's what allows you to respond from clarity instead of reacting from fear. Because here's the truth. You don't control what has already happened. You don't control what hasn't happened yet. But you do control now. And if you can own this moment, even just for a few breaths, you're not just practicing Stoicism, you're living free. So the next time anger starts to rise, ask yourself, am I reacting to what's real, or to the story in my head? More often than not, it's the story, and stories can be rewritten. Stay present. Come back to your breath. Let go of the noise in your imagination. Because the person who can master this skill, the person who can anchor themselves in the present moment, becomes untouchable. No insult, no imagined slight, no future worry can pull them out of balance. That's the power of presence. That's the gift of living here, now. And once you learn it, you'll realize most of the storms you thought were outside of you were only ever inside your head. Part 7. Drop the weight of resentment before it ages you. Have you ever met someone who looks heavy even when they're not carrying anything? A man who walks as if the world is pressing down on his shoulders. A woman who seems tired, even after a full night's sleep. That weight isn't physical, it's emotional. It's the weight of resentment. And it ages us faster than time ever could. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It doesn't punish the one who hurt you, it punishes you. It drains your energy, clouds your clarity, and keeps you chained to the past long after the moment has passed. Think about it. How many times have you replayed something someone did to you? 5, 10, even 20 years ago? Maybe they betrayed your trust, embarrassed you in front of others, or walked away when you needed them most. You told yourself you'd never forget, and you didn't. But every time you think of them, your stomach tightens, your chest grows heavy, your peace disappears. That's not strength. That's self-inflicted punishment. The Stoics understood this trap well. They didn't see forgiveness as a favor to the person who wronged you. They saw it as an act of self-preservation. Epictetus said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus can get the better of my will." What he meant is this: no one can chain your mind unless you let them. Forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about unshackling yourself from carrying the weight of their offense. Let me give you a story. Imagine you're at work and a colleague throws a slick, cutting comment your way. You know it's a jab. You could snap back. You could carry it home. Complain to a friend. Replay it all night in your head. And tomorrow, you'd wake up already tense. Already rehearsing what you should have said. That's how resentment sneaks in, not just in big betrayals, but in small daily cuts that keep reopening because you never let them heal. Now imagine a different response. The jab comes. You notice it. You feel that spark of anger. But instead of feeding it, you breathe, you smile, you walk away, not because you're weak, not because you didn't notice, but because you refuse to carry trash that doesn't belong to you. You refuse to give your peace away for free. That's power, quiet power. And here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Holding on doesn't protect you. It poisons you. It makes you suspicious of kindness. It makes you quick to anger. It makes you drag the pain of yesterday into the opportunities of today. And in the end, you lose twice. Once when it happened, and again every time you relive it. The Stoics didn't carry anger like armor. They released it like fire in their hands, because they knew it burns the one who holds it most. Forgiveness, to them, was never about forgetting or trusting again. It was about reclaiming space in your heart for something lighter, something better. So let me ask you, what weight are you still carrying? Who's living rent-free in your head? And what is that resentment costing you? Not them, but you? You have more life ahead of you than behind you. Don't let yesterday's wounds steal today's peace. Let it go, not for their sake, but for yours. Because when you drop resentment, you'll feel it in your body. Your posture lifts, your sleep deepens, your thoughts clear. You finally feel light again. Forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength. It's the strength to stop dragging chains that were never meant to be permanent. It's the courage to stop letting your enemies live inside your head long after they've left your life. So today, make a choice. Stop feeding the story of what they did. Stop rehearsing the pain. Protect your energy. Free your mind. Because the person who learns to drop resentment doesn't just walk lighter, they live freer. That's the gift Stoicism offers. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain doesn't own you. And that's a gift worth choosing. Part 8. The art of pausing before you react. Have you ever noticed how quickly things can spiral out of control? One sentence, one tone of voice, one offhand remark, and suddenly, your chest tightens, your voice rises, and before you even realize it, you've already said something you regret. That lightning-fast moment between what happens and how you respond, That is the real battlefield. Not the insult itself. Not the argument. The true fight is in that tiny space. The pause. And if you can master that pause, you can master yourself. Most people don't even see it. Their emotions outrun their awareness. By the time they recognize they're angry, the reaction has already taken over. That's how arguments explode, relationships fracture, and peace evaporates. But here's the secret. Once you learn to recognize that space, once you realize you have a choice in that split second, you start taking your power back. Let me give you an example. Picture this. You're at home, and your teenage son talks back to you with that sharp tone only a teenager can deliver. Instantly, you feel disrespected. Your first instinct? Snap. Raise your voice. Put him in his place. But instead, you stop, you take a breath, and you say, "I'll respond in a minute." That moment of restraint might not look like much, but in reality, you've just broken a cycle that has repeated itself in countless homes for generations. You've shifted from reacting blindly to responding with intention. That pause, that single breath, was the moment you took control. The mistake many of us make is believing that hesitation means weakness. That if we don't react immediately, we've lost respect. But the truth is the opposite. That pause isn't weakness, it's precision. It's discipline. It's the difference between words that inflame and words that heal. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not act unless it serves the greater good." He wasn't telling us to be passive. He was teaching us timing. The right response, at the right moment, in the right tone. That's power. And you can't find that clarity if you let adrenaline do the talking. We live in a world that demands instant reactions. Text back now. Respond to the email now. Defend yourself immediately. But Stoicism reminds us that speed is not strength. Accuracy is. Anyone can fire off a reaction in seconds. Very few can hold their ground, breathe, and choose their words with intention. So how do you practice this? It's simpler than you think. The next time pressure hits, remind yourself, I don't need to react yet. Walk into another room, take 10 deep breaths, ask yourself, what's the outcome I actually want here? And only then, when the storm inside has calmed, do you respond. This isn't about repressing emotions. It's about commanding them. The Stoic man, or woman, is not cold. They're clear. They're not slow. They're steady. They don't deny what they feel, but they decide how to use it. Imagine what your life would look like if you mastered this pause. Fewer regrets, fewer broken relationships, more dignity kept intact. Every argument becomes an opportunity not to lose yourself, but to prove yourself to yourself. And here's the thing. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. That pause becomes second nature. That breath becomes your shield. And eventually, people notice. They realize they can't push your buttons the way they can push everyone else's. You're not easily rattled. You're not easy to manipulate. You're steady. That's why the art of pausing isn't just a technique. It's a way of life. It's how you stop being a prisoner of your impulses and start becoming the master of your responses. So from this day forward, treat every moment of tension as training. When your heart starts racing, when your fists want to clench, when your voice is ready to snap, don't move. Not yet. Let the pause do its work. Then, when you're ready, respond, not from ego, but from intention. Because the person who masters the pause doesn't just win arguments, they win themselves. And that, my friend, is a victory no one can take from you. Conclusion. Becoming untouchable. If there's one truth I want you to walk away with, it's this. You are not a slave to your emotions. You are not chained to anger, resentment, or the need to react. You have the power, right now, to choose a different path. Calm is not weakness. Self-control is not denial. These are strengths of the highest order. Because anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can snap back. Anyone can get swept away in the storm. That's easy. But the man, or woman, who can stand still when the world tries to shake them? That's rare. That's real power. The Stoics laid out a roadmap for us. And it's as practical today as it was 2,000 years ago. Anger is just a habit. And like any habit, it can be broken. Control yourself, not other people. That's where your true influence lies. Train your calm daily, like a muscle, so it's ready when the storm comes. Let go of what's outside your control. It was never yours to hold. See conflict not as a threat, but as practice, a chance to sharpen your discipline. Live in the present moment, because your imagination is often what makes you suffer, not reality. Drop the weight of resentment, not for them, but for you, so you can finally walk light and free. And master the pause, that sacred space between trigger and reaction, because in that pause, your destiny is decided. If you commit to these principles, you'll start to notice something extraordinary. You stop being triggered by every little thing. You stop handing your peace to anyone who tries to provoke you. You stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. And in that moment, you become untouchable, not in the sense that life stops testing you, it won't. Not in the sense that people stop being rude or disrespectful, they won't. But untouchable in the sense that none of it can steal your peace unless you let it. Picture this. Someone insults you, and you don't flinch. A plan falls apart, and you stay calm. A conflict arises, and you choose clarity over chaos. People around you are shaken, but you remain steady. That's not weakness. That's mastery. That's freedom. Because here's the ultimate lesson. The strongest person isn't the one who controls others. It's the one who controls themselves. The one who knows their dignity. Their calm. Their inner fortress is not up for negotiation. So let me ask you, what would your life look like if you lived this way? If you stopped being dragged around by every insult, every frustration, every unexpected turn? Imagine the energy you'd save. Imagine the respect you'd command. Imagine the peace you'd carry into every room. That's what Stoicism offers. Not a life without storms, but a life where storms don't sink you. Not a life without conflict, but a life where conflict trains you instead of breaking you. Not a life without pain, but a life where pain becomes fuel for growth. So start today. Take one principle, just one, and practice it. Pause before you react. Write down your frustrations at the end of the day. Ask yourself, is this within my control? And each time you do, you're laying another brick in the fortress of your mind. Because in the end, the man, or woman, who can master their thoughts, their reactions, and their energy is the one who truly owns their life. And that kind of strength never fades. That kind of strength endures. Becoming untouchable doesn't mean nothing ever happens to you. It means nothing can take you down. And that is the kind of power worth living for.